Yes, your father did tell me he thought he was having a heart attack, but you know that I never leave the house without scouring the bathtub. And yes, he might be going blind, but this garbage disposal won't unclog itself, now will it? And yes, his shingles diagnosis is unfortunate, but also it's also ill-timed. So I must lay down all of this mulch before the HOA complains about the bags in the front lawn. Fine, I'll take him to the emergency room. You are so dramatic. Welcome to another episode of Desperate Housewives Revisited, a spin-off of Contending at the Water Cooler, a podcast that wonders how much do you want to hear two guys wondering how much suburban housewives actually want to know about their neighbors. This week we are diving into season 1, episode 22, Goodbye for Now. I'm Joey Moser, and I'm joined by my co-host, Clarence Moy. Hello, Clarence.
Well, hello, Joey, and I'm very sad to say that this is we're approaching the end of our journey here, and I
I
have to tell you
know.
the journey of emotions that I go through while you're performing your opening monologue are just quite intense. Like I don't know how to deal sometimes. It's just
I know.
it's
It's
I'm impressed and scared.
and you are a little sad for me too. I can tell, which is fine and understandable. So yeah.
No, I embrace the oddity.
Oh, good, good. Got one more. We got one more for this before it's all over.
We got one more. Joey, we're here to talk about episode 22, which is the penultimate episode of
Hmm.
season one. Next time we'll be talking about the finale, but this is a strong episode. There's a lot that goes on in this one. There's not a wasted moment.
No, I will say I think a lot of the storylines and all the housewives are in it. We get some Edie action. Um, I think this is a really strong episode for all of them. So, which is, unfortunately, I think we have discovered not always the case. But this is, you can tell that, they wanted to end on a really high note. So I think this is a good episode.
Absolutely. So, speaking of wasted moments, let's not waste any more time. Let's hop right into it, shall we?
Sure.
Let's start with, I tell you what, I'll start with Lynette. I think you talked about Lynette last week. Let me talk about Lynette
Mhm.
this week.
Sure.
So we have Lynette. She's continuing the visiting the office to remind Tom that he is married and to drive a wedge between herself and Annabelle, or Tom and Annabelle, I should say.
Hmm.
Now,
Lesbians.
yeah. Um, Even though she has, like, I think she's lost all sense of self and self-worth. Like, I don't think she
Hmm.
understands how ridiculous she looks and is acting throughout
Yeah.
all of this. She pops in with a birthday cake for someone. Is it a birthday cake, or is it yeah, I think it's a
It's like
birthday.
a welcome back to the office for Dugan, who
Oh, right, Tim
had a heart
Dugan.
attack.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Um, but it is a fruit juice sweetened cake. It is not a bad cake. So, obviously Tim Dugan has had the heart attack, so he's been out on medical leave. Now he's back. She's bringing the cake. She has some banter with Annabelle. Annabelle kind of like he friendly, that's how we find out it's a fruit juice sweetened cake, is because Annabelle criticizes the cake, saying, "Oh, that's so nice with all that sugar." And Lynette thought of everything. But we find out via Tom's boss that Tim Dugan isn't coming back. And they're scrambling because they're trying to figure out what to do with that big account. I don't remember the
Advertising,
name.
advertising, advertising.
Yeah, exactly. So he puts Annabelle, not Tom, he puts Annabelle as the lead of this Tim's big account. And she has to go to Hawaii like tomorrow, and she chooses Tom to go with her, of course, because she needs a second. So that is actually kind of, I mean, Lynette couldn't have controlled that. But again, this is another dangerous situation here for Lynette. So next
Yes.
time we see Lynette, those wheels are working. And she has, God bless Lynette. She loves to plot.
Oh, yeah.
And she decides to meet up with an old coworker from her company. And the old coworker thinks Lynette is looking for a job for herself, and she's so excited. Well, Lynette's actually trying to get Tom hired at that company. but we start to get a sense of what people really think about Tom and why Tom hasn't gotten that promotion that he so badly wants at his company. Because
Yeah, the exchange is basically, he's like, sucks. Like, that's what sort of the
yeah,
subtext of that scene is. Like,
exactly.
really,
She's like,
Tom? Oh,
he's Tom. It's like damning him with faint praise and all that stuff. So,
looks great in a Speedo.
so Lynette figures out that another strategy. She pivots on the moment, which is why Lynette is great at what she does. She
Yeah.
decides that she's got another go-getter to offer up to this company, to her old company. And it's, of course, who do you think it is? It's Annabelle. So instead of Lynette returning to work, Annabelle gets hired. Annabelle rushes in to tell her boss that she has decided to accept this other offer because it is so competitive. The boss counters and eventually gives her the VP position that was held by Tim Dugan that Tom so badly wanted, just to keep Annabelle. So Annabelle is so excited. She tells Tom, I think it's the only time that we've seen Tom actually have a pair of balls at the company.
Yeah. Yeah.
He confronts his boss in a very aggressive way, and he quits and basically lays it all out. Like, you're an idiot. You've destroyed the company since you've taken over. And he pisses the boss off. And the boss says, well, you know what? Fine. You can pack your desk. I want you gone by the end of the day. And oh, by the way, the only reason I didn't essentially give you any kind of a promotion or a better offer is because your wife talked to my wife and said she could not live if you were away more often than you are. And so therefore, Tom finds out that Lynette has been sabotaging his career. And at the end of the episode, we see him very sadly clearing out his desk and saying goodbye to the cleaning lady. So a lot happened there. And let me know if I've missed anything. But I think, it's setting up a further rift between Tom and Lynette that will play out over the next, few seasons, where we have, spoiler alert, Lynette going back to work, and we have Tom becoming the stay-at-home dad and not finding that incredibly fulfilling. Which eventually leads to... Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just say, I'll let you finish on those.
I was going to say, eventually leads to the great folly of Scavo's Pizzeria.
Oh, God.
That's about what?
Every
season
time
5?
you bring up Scavo's Pizzeria, it horrifies me. I say that in Chicago here, where there's Chicago pizza. Scavo's Pizzeria, just I forget about it. My brain doesn't let me remember it. And when you roar it back onto my consciousness, I'm always like, fuck.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
So what did you think about Lynette's moments?
I like that. I had kind of forgotten that Tom Dugan, it was just like, oh, you're going to be an asshole to me? By the way, your wife thinks you're kind of a schmuck and your wife is playing you. I kind of like that. Like, while the story on Lynette and Tom was a little light leading into, the next to last episode, I think it does a really good job of laying out the tension of what the hell is happening between these two people. These crazy kids.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's kind of it between Tom and Lynette. No central involvement. I think we probably see more of that next week. But let's move on to another housewife. Who do you want to talk about?
I'll do Susan. So, if that's okay, unless you're scrambling to talk about Susan Meyer.
No, it's okay. I mean, it is not sad Susan. So.
No, not sad Susan. Happy Susan, sad Susan. Happy Susan, sad Susan. It's like the most bipolar Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. The episode really actually starts with Edie talking about Mary Alice is narrating that Edie Britt's favorite moment of every day was the arrival at the construction site of her new home, the house that is taking forever to build. It's very, populated by construction workers. But she basically goes and she appreciates like the glances. I think the narration says lascivious looks and downright ogling. And she takes some of the donuts over to Mike's house because the person that she desperately wants attention from the most still is Edie Britt. And so she takes some donuts over to Mike's house. And she's just like, hey, there's a couple extra donuts here from the construction site. I thought I would bring them over. And before she can get really into it, her lady boner is killed really quickly by Susan, rushing to get a bathrobe on. And she's just like, oh, yeah, by the way, me and Mike got back together. And, Edie feels a little defeated and she storms out a little bit. And as she goes to her car, Mike and Susan have a talk about like, oh, this sucks, walking all the way across the street. Which by the way, I don't know anybody who gets with somebody who lives like literally that close. So you guys should really feel lucky. So he thinks that they should move in together. And first thing that Susan does, like, oh, I'm going to get some milk. Oh, this is actually brought up in talking about living together. She's like, we should get some milk for these donuts. And Mike says that maybe they should move in together. And before Edie can fully drive off, she tells, Edie, and she is very, very, very happy with herself. The next time we see Susan, she is moving things already into Mike's house. But before we see her, I think the other girls are talking about Susan because they're wondering if maybe Susan and Mike are
they're at poker night
moving too fast. Yeah, poker night. That's right. She thinks they might be moving too quickly, and Edie's being she's like, oh yeah. Edie gets the ball rolling in this conversation, and so they decide to. Gabby wonders if Susan is making a mistake, and Edie says that maybe we should put a stop to this. Bree thinks that they should maybe sit her down and voice their concerns. And Edie says, like, well, normally I wouldn't get involved, but I mean, like, she's my friend. Very, that could have been played well. She does. Like, she could have played that so heavy-handed, but it's not, like, winking at the audience almost. But she doesn't do that. I was a little surprised and a little impressed that that's the direction that they did that. Susan is then loading up some of Mike's stuff. But she tells him that they need to clean up all of the stuff, basically all the stuff that is bad. She's like, I found a box of bullets. That's not great. And so then she says something about like leaving it to the police. And Mike's like, okay, yeah, I think you're probably right. And Susan, being happy Susan that she is, she's like, wow, I can't believe that was so great. That was so easy. And then does she see Paul Young drop off the stuff in front of Felicia's house?
No, that is Mike that sees that.
Oh, Mike's is. I'm getting the characters crossed.
Yep.
Okay, then the next time, if that's not it, the next time we see Susan is when she thinks that Bree is going to give her a cooking lesson, and the intervention has begun. It was actually sort of like, sometimes I roll my eyes at Happy Susan, but it was sort of just like, hey, why am I the only... It was so much like Marilyn Monroe. She's like, I'm the only one wearing an apron. What's going on? And she's just so happy in love and stupid with love. She can't put two and two together. So basically, her friends tell her, they lay out all their stuff, and she kind of counters with, this feels different than Carl. I've dealt with a lot of hurt in my life. I'm just so happy. She is going to expect the best from Mike, and she knows that Mike is going to expect the best from her too. And right. Edie her plan has been foiled, I guess, once again. So I guess that's one of the last times we see Happy Susan until later in the episode when Mike has brought over more boxes. He explains that he's going to be too late for dinner since there was, I think, a busted water main. And she's like she's like, I'll keep it warm for you. He's like, no, seriously, go to bed. Like, I'm going to be late. Like, that's not what's going to happen. So she goes to grab the broken down boxes, and she finds Martha Huber's diary underneath the seat of his truck. So then she, hides the diary between the boxes, and then she decides to go back. And her and Julie begin stalking Mike.
Yes.
The whole thing. Yeah, they're like, "Can
Well,
he be trusted?" I missed something, didn't I?
yes, you missed a whole segment as to how Mike got the diary. So let's back up a second, because
Sorry.
that's when Mike sees Paul visiting Felicia. Because you remember last episode, Felicia told Paul, "You need to leave Zach with me. You need to leave him
Yeah.
alone. You need to get out." So um, Paul brings over a care package. Mike sees that. Felicia gives it to Zach. And in there, there's a note on the top that says, "I'm sorry. I'm basically like saying I can't raise you. I'm leaving you. You'll be in great hands with Mrs. Tillman."
He's like, "You
And
freak me out too much.
yeah.
Please, I can't do that."
And so Zach freaks out, and he makes this really weird comment about, "I don't even like baseball," because he rips out a baseball
Yeah.
glove. Well, Felicia's no dummy. Felicia picks up the baseball glove and she reaches inside,
No.
and there's a note inside from Paul that basically says, "I am not leaving you. Meet me at the baseball field at midnight on Thursday," or something.
I like
And
how it's just like he doesn't like baseball. Put me at the baseball.
yeah, no, he puts it in the baseball glove. And of course, I love the eye roll that Harriet Sansom Harris gives. Like, "Paul, you're such a fucking idiot." um, so Mike rings the doorbell, and then the next a couple scenes later, he rings the doorbell, and Paul is missing, and Mike's still kind of watching him. Essentially, he's suspicious, and
Mhm.
and Felicia's like, "Why do you think he killed my sister?" And then she invites him inside. They talk about Martha's murder. They talk about the death penalty. She gives him the diary, which Susan then finds, as you described. And she basically hints to him that you're a tough plumber, and I know you know murder, so I want you to kill Paul Young. He's going to be at the park on Thursday night. So that is where Mike is going when he tells Susan, "I'm going to be out really late because I've got a special plumbing job," quote unquote. I'm using air quotes there. Um, and that is where he goes when Susan and Julie are trying to follow him. So I'll turn it over back to you.
I have to say, in the exchange, I know it's not important where Fairview is, but in the dialogue between Mike and Felicia, she's like, "Do you believe in the death penalty, Paul?" And they basically agree, like, "Yeah, we believe in the death penalty." And they say that they live in a state that the death penalty is not legal. So, of course, while I'm watching Desperate Housewives, I'm on my phone looking, what states don't. So I might now, next to last episode, as we're doing this, I am convinced that Desperate Housewives takes place either in New Mexico or Washington State. Don't know why.
Huh.
That's what I landed on. The states that do not have the death penalty: Connecticut, Vermont, Maine, Hawaii, Alaska, New Jersey, New York, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Iowa, Minnesota, North Dakota, but South Dakota does. New Mexico, Washington, Wisconsin, maybe it's Illinois, Michigan, West Virginia, Maryland. Yep.
See, I always thought it was much more middle America or like New England, like Connecticut. I
But
would say
didn't
Connecticut.
I thought like whenever we see, I don't think it snows there though. Isn't it like anytime that there's like a Christmas scene, like it's still like warm?
Oh, right. Yeah. But it is cold there because they do wear winter clothes at some point, right? If it was Washington State, it would be
Mm,
raining all the time.
yeah. The questions that
Hmm.
literally that we know don't have an answer yet. I'm still determined to find out what the answers
Well,
are.
let's see what the
Um,
internet says. Where did Desperate
where is
Housewives take place?
it just
These
says
are the
Fairview.
top burning questions. Yes.
Okay.
It's the fictional Eagle state. It takes place in California because it's on the Universal Studios backlot.
It's
Uh
Fairview.
yeah, it's that most people are saying it's like most closely California, but I don't know.
Okay. I guess that makes sense.
Indiana. Some people
Um,
are saying Indiana. Chicago's mentioned a lot. Purdue, Colts, Peyton Manning. Um, People had boats, so they have to be close to Lake Michigan. Anyway, we
all right.
digress.
We
Let's
digress,
continue
yes.
with the with Susan
So
and
the
Julie
stalking.
following Mike.
So like Julie's just like, hey, we're too far behind. I can't find out his car. And Susan's just like, shut your trap. This is how I followed your philandering father. So she used to follow Carl around all the time when he was cheating on her, and she started suspecting. So they drive up to the baseball park. Julie wonders who they're pulling up next to, and Susan is going to get out of the car. Julie locks the door inside. She runs up to the truck, but of course she has the wrong people, and it's another couple about to get naked. I will say, I actually almost thought that that woman's breasts were going to come out of that shirt. And she runs up to the trunk. She's got the wrong people. She's like so embarrassed. But I have to say, the thing that actually bothered me, the line is, "Was that your wife?" And he says, "If that was my wife, do you think I'd be here with you?" And I'm really just like, "You ugly bitch! Like, why? Why would I be here with you if I could have her?" Like, man, 2005 was brutal.
Yeah, that
So,
was guest
like,
actor number 462. That was a tough line.
yeah, like that, if I was that actress, I would feel really bad about myself. Um,
What happened to Mike?
Mike is punching the shit out of Paul. He is. Um, yeah, Mike has a tendency to be able to meet people in dark places, whether they be parking garages, horribly lit baseball places, or I can't remember where they meet.
Is a
And
baseball field. Yeah.
yeah, how many baseball fields are there? But yeah, he punches him in the face around the same time that Julie and Susan are in the car. And Susan thinks that Julie is mad at her, I think, but she's really invested in this bestseller known as Mary Alice Young's, or not Mary Alice, Martha Huber's diary. And she like looks up and she's like, Martha was blackmailing Paul's, or Jesus Christ. Yeah, Mary, Martha Huber was blackmailing Mary Alice Young. There, I got through it. Uh, yeah, so that I think that's the closest tied to uh, the mystery, the central mystery, rather than, and we'll see why later because that's going to come into play. I think Susan's part in the
Yeah.
finale for those who have never seen it. So now,
And
everyone,
Mike.
this diary is getting passed around. Maybe like that woman at the baseball field. I don't know because that everyone has read this.
Yeah.
Alicia's read it. Paul's
That's the
read it.
second most
Julie's
read
read it.
diary in history.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah.
Um, and both authors are dead. And don't forget, Mike put Paul in the trunk of his car.
Yes.
So
I kind of wish he
kidnapping.
would have put Paul. I wish he would have put Paul like in a toy chest in the trunk of his car, just to have been so much more dramatic. Like,
And
by the
then
way, I found another one of these.
duct
Can't
taped
believe
it
you
up
dug
and
it out
threw
of
him
your
in a river.
pool. Yeah. It's like I found this buried under somebody else's house. Ugh.
All right.
Ugh.
One thing I have to say about Susan in this episode, I actually felt like she, yes, she's giddy and manic most of the episode, but she actually had a really mature moment when she's rebutting the housewives in that intervention. And I have to give her props. I have to give the character props for actually making an informed and mature decision and be like, I understand the risks. It feels different and I'm not, and I'm centered and I'm good to go. I mean, she puts their concerns to rest. Granted, I do think their concerns are not nearly as strong as Edie's desire to break them up.
Oh no. Yeah, it's sort of something. I'd forgotten that scene happened. And it was sort of like a mature thing, be like, I accept the responsibility of what I'm going to do. It's not like sort of cloying, like lovey-dovey thing that we're so used to having her do throughout the season. So yeah, moving onward with her, I guess.
Yes. And then that scene closes with one of the top 5 lines of the episode, which Edie says, "This is the worst intervention I've ever been to."
Yeah, that's great. I love
Like,
it.
how many have there been, Edie? Probably a lot.
Probably a lot, yeah.
Flip a coin. Do you want Bree or do you want me to take Gabby?
I think I can talk about Gabby if you want to talk about Bree. This is a real juicy, especially the end of the episode for Bree is really juicy. Again, why I think she should have been taken more seriously for that Emmy Award. We say it every
Yes.
week almost.
All right. With Bree, we have Bree and George, and they are having a friend date. And I use friend in air quotes again. A lot of air quotes in this episode, Joey.
Yep.
They're on a putt-putt course. And I have to say, I hope that the name of the putt-putt is not like Fairview putt-putt, but like the pastel playground, because the
Oh my God.
costume and production design were in perfect sync, because
Yeah.
they're in pastels. All the colors around them are pastels. Like
Mhm.
it's like Easter putt-putt is what it feels like.
Yeah. It really, really is.
So he's off, Bree's very competitive. So George is trying to make his shot, and she's trying to distract him because she's being playful. She's being, wants him to miss because she wants to win. And she blows in his ear. She tickles him, and she's standing really close to him, and she gives him an unfortunate erection. And he
Okay.
doesn't know what to do. And she finally sees what's going on. And it brings my favorite, what I'm going to say, my favorite lines or my favorite exchange of the episode. And Bree says, "You've got to get rid of it. There are children present." And George goes, "How?" Like a 40-year-old man has never figured out how to get rid of an unwanted erection.
Yeah.
So he says, "How?" And she says, "I don't know. Think of something unpleasant." George goes, "Like what?" Bree says, "Like famine or disease or hobos, whatever. Just hurry." Like, I love that exchange so much because Bree is so panicked, and she still manages to mention the funniest word, one of the funniest words in the English language, which is hobos. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not saying people, who are without home are funny. I am saying the word hobo, completely taken out of context, is very funny.
Yes.
So he eventually does get rid of his erection, and they leave. And then Bree finally realizes that he would only have an erection if he had feelings for her, and she feels betrayed because he's lied to her. And she ultimately has decided to officially break off their friendship. So that's not the end, though, because George is psychotic. Bree goes out of the house to take Rex to his doctor's appointment. More on that
Oh
in a
my
second.
God.
And George breaks in, and he, with the initial intent of, because remember, Bree and Rex stopped going to his pharmacy.
Mhm.
They're using a different pharmacist. So presumably Rex actually has the right medication for a small period of time. But George breaks in and dumps out all the correct pills and puts in the placebos that are causing him to feel bad. And while he does that, he does a really creepy kind of Buffalo Bill thing with Bree's unmentionables. Like he's taking pictures of her underwear, like he arranges them as if she's laying on the bed. And then he goes through her closet and he finds Rex's box of sex toys, which I hope is labeled sex toys.
I hope
Probably
it
not.
was actually labeled with a Brie Vandekamp approved label maker.
I mean,
Like the
she's
same label as like the cinnamon in their pantry.
yes, exactly. And now that she knows that is, and she has participated in such things,
Yeah.
she's cleaned that box and probably I'm surprised they aren't in like, rolled up in felt or, in wrapping paper or something like that. Like,
Yeah.
women in the 50s would do with their lingerie. Anyway,
Yeah.
at the doctor, Rex, this doctor that they're visiting, Rex tells Rex basically he doesn't know what's going on and he needs to consult someone else. And Rex is a doctor himself, so he figures out that means he's fucked. because this guy who's supposedly really good doesn't understand what's going on. If he needs to consult with somebody else, then he has no hope. So he starts to panic. He freaks out. Bree calms him down and says, "Look, we're all going to die at some point. There's nothing you can do about it. Don't, there's in the time that we have left, we should be nice to each other." And it's a nice little moment. It's the last nice moment I think that they have as a couple, probably, or at least in this episode. So Bree is shopping at the supermarket in the next scene, and she bumps into George. I don't know if he's there accidentally, if he's been following her, but she bumps into him. She questions it a little bit. He says there's a friend that he's visiting on this side of town. He's probably been stalking her, wouldn't you guess?
Oh, 1,000%.
Okay. So he warns her that he was around some other doctors and overheard them talk about how Rex likes S&M, which is a total lie. And he describes the toys essentially, and Bree understands that this is true. And he tells her that Rex has been bragging about her doing it too. So she's mortified. She leaves immediately. That evening, Rex is in bed and she is sitting in the window banquette looking out longingly at the street, trying to figure out what to do. He gets out of bed and she confronts him about it. He says that's not true. He denies it. And during their argument, he begins to have a heart attack. And she initially thinks that he's playing or that he's having a panic attack or if he's got gas or something like that. No, he's really having a heart attack. So she sends him downstairs and she says, "Okay, let me get dressed and I'll take you to the hospital." I don't know why they don't call the ambulance. Like, why can't Rex is a doctor? He certainly understands that ambulances are a thing. He could have picked up the phone. But he goes downstairs. I guess a few minutes pass. Danielle comes downstairs and says, "Hey, Daddy, what's wrong?" And he says, "Well, I had a heart attack." And she's like, "Why aren't you at the hospital?" And he's like, "Well, I'm waiting for your mother to take me." And Danielle says, "Where is Mom?" And he goes, "That's a really good question." So Danielle runs upstairs and Bree is doing this. I haven't quite figured out, and I would love your thoughts on this. I'll just describe what Bree is doing. She has dressed and she is very painstakingly remaking the bed. And she explains to Danielle in a very disconnected, passive voice, I can't leave the house with an unmade bed." And Danielle says, "Daddy's in pain. Daddy's hurting." And finally, Bree says, "Yes, I'll take him to the hospital." What is she doing in that moment? Is she terrified that that could finally die? Or is she so pissed at him for presumably talking about their sex life with doctors and making her feel like a sex object, like a deviant, that she's punishing him?
I have always thought that scene. Sorry, it's very lively outside of my room. I have all the ambulance that should be at Rex Vandekamp's house is not there. It's in the downtown streets of Chicago. I had always assumed that it was sort of a mixture of anger with a really intense trauma response because he says, "I think I'm having a heart attack." And she says it almost in the same way that, and I've always thought this too, that Marcia Cross delivers, "No, you're not," in the same way as the really aggressive side of Meryl Streep in Death Becomes Her when she talks to Bruce Willis. And then right after she says that, she actually realizes how serious it is. And she knows, like, I think she actually says, "Okay, I'll go downstairs. Or you go downstairs, I will do whatever, and I'll be right there." I think that felt genuine to me. And I don't know if it's like, we don't see her really alone in the room. We don't see her thought process as to why she's doing it. But we've sort of learned throughout this first season that Bree Vandekamp has always been afraid of her emotions, and when she is afraid of that kind of intensity, she does disconnect and find something that gives her comfort. We find that we see
Yes.
that when she talks to Zach with the Christmas tree and the blood on the tree. We see that
Right.
when she feels it's not just the reason why I say it's a trauma response and not specifically tied to anger. I think it's a mixture of it because then we see it later, like when she tries to seduce Rex and she feels so rejected in the hotel room and she feels embarrassed that she arranges flowers before she comes back out or something like that.
Right.
That might be mixing things, but I've always thought it was a I think in a way she's disconnected from reality, but in a way that has always kind of felt this is what she always kind of does.
So it's a trauma response essentially. Or
I think it's a trauma response mixed with a lot of I think the anger is still there, the
yeah.
hurt, the embarrassment that is there too. Yeah,
We'll see a different flavor of this, and I suppose it probably plagues the character throughout the whole series. But I know in season 2, episode 1, during spoiler alert Rex's funeral, um, she rechannels all of her grief and her anger, unresolved anger, probably into fixing his tie. When he's got an open
oh
casket
yeah,
funeral, and she doesn't like the tie that he has, and his mother has come into town and wants him to wear this special gaudy thing, and of course Bree can't have that, but it's not really about the tie. I would argue it's more about her grief and her refusal
yeah,
to
control,
acknowledge
yeah.
emotion and control. Yes, but her refusal to acknowledge and engage with real human emotions.
Uh,
Wow. All
hey
right.
Marsha, can you please come on our podcast, please? I mean, we have one more left. We've been talking to your people.
Yes, and while we're talking about it, we do have a housewife that's coming on next episode. So
I know, I'm
I
so
guess we'll
excited.
we'll put that out there, and let our listeners be surprised as to who it is. I
Yes,
guess we
yes,
kind of
yes, yes. I
spoiled it
think
a
people
little
will be
bit and
surprised.
said that it's not Marsha Cross.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, what do you mean? Oh, I gave it away.
Yeah. Um. All right. Let's close out with Gabby. So I'll let you talk about this. Another really funny line is in this scene, and I will interrupt you when you get to that moment.
Sure. Gabby, this is basically Gabrielle Solis and the continued torment of her birth control. Um, so I'm trying to remember where. Okay, so um, Gabby, I think the first time we see Gabby is after we see an introduction, well, a departure of characters that we've never seen before. Mr. and Mrs. Edwin Mullins are finally leaving Wisteria Lane. In the past year, their street, I wrote it down, and their street have been played host to arson, violence, blackmail, and murder. They don't even know about the statutory rape. Well, let's not get into that. So as the Mullins leave, Gabby comes out of her house to give water, I think, to Justin, the
Yes.
new, not as hot. So sorry to say that, sir. Yeah, whatever. Lawn boy, and he is mad at Gabby because Gabby told John that even if the baby is his, he's not going to raise it. Gabby says that it's a complicated situation, and a young person being a young person, since this is a good example of how young people think they know everything, he says to her, "You're an unfeeling bitch," and she slaps him. And this slap is seen by Carlos, who's watching from the inside of the house, and he's still on house arrest. And Carlos wants to know why she slapped him, and he says something like, "Well, you should have seen what he did to like my begonias or my whatever flower. You would have done the same thing." And yeah, so I don't even remember the next time we see her.
The next time we see her, she's getting a letter
Oh,
from the
that's really the
insurance
next time we see
agency.
her?
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Okay.
outside of the intervention with Susan, but we've already covered that.
Oh, yes, yes, yes. So she gets a letter and she basically finds out that it negates Carlos's assumption that, not assumption, the lie that he said that Mama Solis messed with the birth control. because the order was placed after Mama Solis was in her coma. So she is uh, so mad that she's basically storming out and she's leaving him. So when she leaves, Carlos tries to chase her, but she has left so quickly. Um, and he's like, "Why are you leaving? I go to prison tomorrow." And she's like, "Yeah, that's because you see why I only packed one bag." And he says, "The baby needs a mother and a father." And she's about to peel off when she says, "Oh, Carlos, whoever said that you were the father?" Which I understand Gabby being very mad and determined, but I was like, your husband is also very determined and very angry. So maybe you should have told him that when he was behind bars if you wanted to have an aha moment, but whatever. So Carlos starts he takes Edie's car. I like how she's putting like a sold sign on the Mullins house is already sold because she's that hot, that good of a realtor. And I
Yeah.
love that she sees him getting into her car. The ankle monitor is already beeping because he's crossed the line, and she just sort of gently she realizes that he's going to take the car. She like gently reaches in, just takes her handbag out, and he speeds off. Now she does scream felon at
Damn
him.
felon. That's my
Damn
line right
felon.
there. Damn felon.
Yeah,
I even wrote
damn
that down.
felon.
We actually didn't mention at the top of the episode that the this episode does begin with the Mullinses moving away, which sets up
Mm-hmm.
something that closes the episode, which is the sale the sold sign that Edie puts on that house. And there's a Mary Alice has that voiceover where she says they're tired of all of the drama of Wisteria Lane, essentially.
Yeah, they came to
And I do have to
Wisteria Lane
say,
for a quiet, simple life.
yes, exactly. I do have to say, Mrs. Mullins walks out of that house carrying the fakest plant I have ever seen.
Oh my God, you're so right. I actually
Like,
hope, in my mind, she thinks it's a real plan, and maybe Mr. Mullins like, we'll just give her that fake thing. She sees something to do. But God, oh my
anyway,
God.
so I'll let you continue with Gabrielle
Oh
and
yeah,
Carlos following Gabrielle somewhere.
yeah. So the police are on. They've already, you know, picked up that Carlos is broken house arrest. He follows Gabby. Gabby goes to John and Justin's apartment. John is not there. And as he is, she tells him that she's leaving her husband, and they are leaving, and outside, Carlos, there's a lot of spying in this one, I guess. Carlos, from him, from George, from Susan, Gabby gives the lawn boy, Justin, a hug, and the poor guy just wants to eat his grilled cheese sandwich. And I, as someone who loves grilled cheese sandwiches, I would be very upset if I kept getting interrupted too. And she leaves, and so Carlos, assuming that he found the person who's been banging his wife, um, he he as soon as Justin opens the door, he punches him in the face, and you think just because you mow my lawn, you can bang my wife? And so then the police come in and they take Carlos down, and poor Justin is in a neck brace on a gurney and says, like, do you know why this man would be coming after you? And Carlos is between me and the boy, essentially. And he he says, "Oh yeah, that's going and fooling around with his wife." He's like, "No, I'm gay." And I think my favorite line of the episode is when Carlos can't believe it's happening. He like lays back in his chair. I think this is the first time it's not a lady who gave me my favorite line. He's, "Oh, I can't." Yeah, again, it's the again. He's a serial gay basher. And
Yeah.
then Gabrielle and Carlos, he's been arrested, and he's basically like, "Hey, so you need to lie to the cops because I don't want to get charged for the hate crime. I really
Second
shouldn't be
offense.
laughing at this. Yes, second
No,
offense.
and actually, when we talk about this, looking at this through a 20-year lens, it's really uncomfortable using a hate crime as a moment of comedy. I don't know, maybe we're being too sensitive. I didn't think about it back then, but now it's like, okay, once was bad, twice is a weird pattern, considering, the team that has written the show is predominantly gay men, I think, or at least Mark Cherry.
Yeah, it's a little, maybe if we would have seen this maybe a year ago, maybe we would have thought been fine. But like, as rights are being taken away from queer and transgender people, it's a little strange. Um, so Carlos thinks that Gabby was pretending to have an affair to punish him, I guess. Um, Again, he needs her to lie and tell the cops that she was having an affair. He says something like, he says, this looks really bad. She's like, well, yeah, you did do it. Like, that's another funny line that I thought was great. She's like, well, you kind of are a serial hate crime committer. Sort of like the matter of factness that Ava Longoria gives that she's like, well, you did do it. So technically it's not kind of are. Um, and I think the last time we see Gabby, Carlos is sitting in jail, and I think he's looking at a picture of the two
Yeah,
of them together.
yeah.
Um,
Which,
yeah.
how did he get that in jail? But anyway, um,
I need a picture of my smoking hot wife.
he and while he's going through that, I need you to lie and tell them that you're having an affair. So he essentially needs her to tell the truth. Um,
Yeah, it's
it,
sort of a.
Go ahead.
Oh no, it's just sort of like she's not technically lying.
No, she's not.
Yeah.
And you could see my face as I was watching this scene. You'd have to insert the Adele trying to read the line, the gif of Adele going, with
Yeah.
the finger trying to figure out
Yeah.
it's like, I'm trying to
Oh, I
figure
love
out
that.
exactly what's going on. What? What does he need you to
Yeah.
do? I was very confused.
Oh.
Just like, oh,
Oh.
tell the truth. Okay. Uh,
Yeah, so I mean, that's basically the whole shebang.
yeah,
What do you think's
except
gonna happen?
Oh, I don't know. We'll have to find out next time on Desperate Housewives Revisited. But before we go, we do have one 30-second scene where a moving truck moves up in front of the
Yes.
former Mullins house, and a young African American man gets out of the driver's door, bringing in some inclusivity to the neighborhood. And
Woke.
who do we see getting out of the front door? But Alfred
Academy Award
Woodard.
nominee Alfre Woodard clapping in my hotel room by myself for Alfre Woodard.
Do you
Uh,
remember back? I mean, did we know that she was joining the show when she came out of that truck, or was this a surprise? I can't
that is a
remember.
good question. I'm gonna see when she was.
Yeah, I don't know.
I wonder if the Wikipedia page for Desperate Housewives, the long, exhaustive Desperate Housewives Wikipedia page will tell me when she was cast. I wonder if that was. Actually, I should look at the if the promo had it in there.
I don't know. Well, I mean, I think they did tease that there were new um,
Ugh,
neighbors. Yes,
yeah,
Betty Applewhite.
she
We'll find out.
Betty Applewhite, which that is such a great, not Betty White, Betty Applewhite. What a very on brand name
Yes,
that
100%.
oh my God. Sorry, I'm like furiously typing to see if I can find it.
Um,
Woodard.
At any rate, if we find out, we'll talk about it on the next episode because I think we do have a little bit more of Betty Applewhite to discuss in the finale leading into season 2. Before
Yes.
we go, Joey, "Goodbye for Now" is the name of this episode. Where does that
Mhm.
song? Where does that title come from?
That is actually a Stephen Sondheim song that he wrote for Warren Beatty's Reds. Um, it has been covered a surprisingly, I'll say a surprisingly large amount. I saw that like I would say the Bernadette Peters version is probably my favorite version of that song. I can't remember who performed it on. There's a really good album for anybody who cares. It was released in like the late 90s, like 98, 97. Sondheim at the Movies, where it's all the music that Stephen Sondheim wrote for um, films like Dick Tracy, like the for anybody as a Death Becomes Her musical fan, like why am I blanking on her name? Not Megan Hilty, Jennifer Samard. Jennifer Samard sings a really good version of More from
Dick
Dick
Tracy.
Tracy. But yeah,
Yeah.
I'm having 8,000 strokes during this during this recording. But yeah, it is from Reds. I assumed that when I remember that it was from Reds, I assumed it was like, oh, surely got an Oscar nomination. No, it did not. So it was
No.
sort of a song that did not get any kind of attention. But the Bernadette Peters concert video that is very easily found on YouTube is a good version to listen to.
And I must correct myself and say that the young African American man who was getting out of the truck was played by Mehcad Brooks, who we would see in many things, including True Blood, The Game, Necessary Roughness, Supergirl, and upcoming
Oh, he's
Mortal
on
Kombat
Supergirl.
2. The TV show,
Yeah.
yes, with Terry Hatcher. He plays James. He plays Jimmy Olsen, actually.
Oh, he does.
Woke. Yes, woke.
You know, if this show came out now and it was a predominantly white cast, like almost exclusively white cast, that they're like, oh, yeah, Desperate Housewives need to add some. They're only doing it because of complaints of, not being inclusive.
Yes.
Some people would complain about that, but yeah.
There you go. Well, Joey, I think that covers goodbye for now. So I guess we should say goodbye for now to both of us to this podcast. I look forward to chatting with you again one wonderful day to talk about episode 23, this year, the first season finale. One wonderful day.
Fun. And we will have, as Clarence mentioned, we will have a special guest. We're not going to reveal who that is, but we will have a special guest. Finally, another special guest. So yeah, let's get the hell out of here. Please remember to subscribe to this podcast and our main podcast, Contending at the Water Cooler, on your favorite podcast app. One wonderful day, episode 23. We will close out this podcast series. We will see you next time on Wisteria Lane.